Hello, everyone. Erik Rubadeau from Yeeboo Digital here. Excited to be with you and sharing my tips for year end. Pretty important time of year, as we all know. So let's dive in and get ahead with a few tips that hopefully will help improve your year-end fundraising. The first one I would like to bring up is about getting ahead of it before it is too late. And this is when we're thinking about email deliverability. You want to be getting ahead of deliverability before it is too late. So when I'm thinking about deliverability, I'm definitely thinking about DKIM, DMARC, BIMI, SPF. Dad joke I like to make is if you don't have SPF, you're going to get burned. These are email frameworks that ensure and help email inboxes know that you're for real. SPF, DKIM, DMARC, these are kind of industry standards and have been for a little while. BIMI, BIMI is a bit of a newer one. If you're in the inbox, you might notice that some of your senders now have their logo showing up in your inbox. That's BIMI or BIMI, a process that you can definitely look up and get done at this time of year not only helps for organizations to, your individuals to see you in the thread, but also actually adds to trust for the email inboxes. So an important one to be thinking about as we head into year end. Google and Yahoo are going to be, and all the others, frankly, are going to be enforcing email deliverability a lot harder this year. So you definitely want to do all these things to get ahead of it, keeping your spam complaints to under 0.3% so you can get your important messages into the inbox. So speaking of the inbox, you may or may not have heard of this little trend called artificial intelligence, or AI. It's showing up in everything. And you may have noticed, most recently, it's showing up in your inbox. So tip number 2, it's all about AI summaries. Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, they're all now providing machine-written previews of the message before you even open it. So, we used to have, we used to think about the subject line, right? The subject line is so critical to getting opened. That kind of preview text, again, another place that can be really great for kind of planting the seed of what's going to happen, or drawing in a little bit of curiosity to get someone to open your email. AI has changed the game, as they say, and is now providing everybody with a summary of the email before they even have to open it. So very much important. You need to think about how is your email set up. How are you rewriting your emails to think about AI summaries? So you definitely want to think about, leading with benefits, your urgency, the proof, all this good stuff in the first 8 to 12 words of your email, because it's taking the subject line, it's taking the email, and it is creating a summary, right? So instead of, something like it's our biggest campaign of the year, think about, your gift today doubles to provide 200 meals. Being specific in the subject line is going to be really important, but also really thinking about how your emails are written and what those AI summaries look like. Test them out. You can see them in your own inboxes before you deliver them. So do a little bit of testing, see how they look, and think about how this is changing what people will open or not. Right. Definitely think about how you test this. Right. Open rates are pretty much dead. So you're thinking about clicks and conversions in this case, and that will give you a bit of a sense of how it's helping you perform. Tip number 3. We're going into year end. We all talk about it. Everybody is geared up for year end, and for many, year end started yesterday. September, October, November, December, these last 4 months, maybe the last 3 months for your organization are critical for fundraising. When it comes to digital fundraising, yes, very true. Lots of it raised in the last little bit. But I believe 10% of online giving these days is happening in the last 3 days. That's a big chunk. And I think 5% in the last day. So one of the things I would give you to think about as you head into year end is thinking about those last few days as a year end mini campaign. So yes, you're going to have, Giving Tuesday, you're going to have Thanksgiving, you're going to have, leading up to holiday, and then you've kind of got that window at the end. Definitely think about that one very specific, because there's such a high volume, there's a lot of competition at that time of year, but don't leave it to chance. Make sure that you are, thinking about this as, what is our cadence over these 3-4 days? When are we just sending one email? I wouldn't. I would make sure you're getting a few out the door. Make sure those emails, as they lead up, you're getting a reminder out early. You're talking about your proof, your impact, varying up the messaging, but ensuring that you are in the inbox. This is really important. So when you head into your end, as you're thinking about what you're putting together, think very critically about those last 3 days. You also, if you've got SMS enabled, given that email is going to be really tightly watched this year by the main providers, you have to be careful about too many sends too tightly, too quickly, and ending up with spam complaints. Another great option is to, if you're watching your spam and you're a little concerned about numbers moving, follow up with SMS. Push between mediums, use them to your advantage. But also regression sending, right? When you've got a group of people that have opened, to make sure and taken action, make sure they're removed from the next mailing. So use your platforms to your advantage. So I really want you to be successful this year. I'm going to add one more, just a bonus. After year end, get an awesome thank you. A lot of tax receipts are automated, so they know they're happening right away. Get that stewardship email out in the first 10, 12 days in January. Think about it as part of your year-end campaign, so that you're not coming back after the holidays and thinking, oh God, we've got to put an email together. No, think about it as part of the campaign, so that you've got something ready to go, telling people about the impact that they made and how it's changing things, as early as today. I think it's a really great thing, just to kind of help set and reinforce that giving behavior. Positive reinforcement goes a long way. So let's use it to our advantage. So again, my 3 tips for the end of year: email deliverability, thinking deeply about how AI summaries are affecting email, and last but certainly not least, think about your year end as a mini campaign all on its own. How are you going to get in on what is the busiest time but the most profitable time for your organization at the time of year? Been a pleasure to be here and to share my ideas. Wishing you a successful year end. Take care.